What's going on, guys? It's the Rear Naked Recap, UFC Vegas 30. On the parlay side of things, blowing up. On the prop side of things, pretty solid. But I felt that the reads were there. Obviously, in this game, you need a couple bounces. It's MMA, 1 inch, one difference, one small moment in the fight could be the complete difference maker. So, let's jump into what went right, what went wrong, how we can improve, and some of these guys that are just no longer trustworthy. So, kicking off the card, we got Damir Hadzevik versus Yancy Madeiros. On a straight bet side of things, I did end up going with Yancy Madeiros. As an official play side of things, won this fight to go the distance. The main thing with Yancy Madeiros is people probably questioning his durability a little bit. When has Yancy really shown massive durability issues in the past? He has been finished, but again, he's always fought in world-class guys. He's competed at as high as 170 pounds. At 55, you would think, a big hitter would be able to take him out. But the guy's got a solid chin. We all know that. Damir Hadzevik's side of things, takedown defense is a problem. But again, he is that banger at 55 that might be able to take out Yancy Madeiros. But beyond that, I mean, we've seen him the Nick Hein fight. He can land his best shots. If you can take them, he does start to fatigue a little bit. He's not someone that's going to put constant pressure on you for 15 minutes. So wanted the fight to go the distance, but I thought underdog Yancy Madeiros had a chance. First round, Damir Hadzevik absolutely bombing on him. Again, we know that he is a credible striker. He has heavy hands, and Yancy Madeiros just fights a terrible game plan for pretty much the entire 15 minutes. It's not to take anything away from Damir Hadzevik, but when you're Yancy Madeiros and you have a 5-inch reach advantage, you're that much longer than the guy. You need to play the distance. You need to use the jab. You need to use the kicks and stay to the outside. He did none of those things. He would routinely enter the clinch and try to almost grab Hadzevik's hands and walk in like he wanted to throw an elbow. But every time he would enter the pocket, Hadzevik would have a 3-piece combination, 4-piece combination waiting for him. He would just load up on all of his punches. So tall Yancy enters the pocket. He has to shell up right away. He did have success staying on the outside using the jab. So the first round I got it for Hadzevik. He lands the most meaningful shots for sure. Leg kick was there for him. By the striking numbers, it is close, but it's a Hadzevik round. Second round, it does appear that Damir's starting to tire a little bit. Yancy might be able to put the foot on the pedal, but again, he just doesn't use the range at all. He lands a couple nice jabs from the outside, but it's just one and done stuff. He keeps trying to enter the pocket, walk up to him, and it's not working for him. So Hadzevik, again, he just lands the better punches. The second round's a much better round for Hadzevik. He has him hurt. Now I'm thinking I'm going 0-2 to start off because Yancy's not coming back at this point. But beyond that, this thing ain't going the distance. You can't keep taking these kind of shots. But Yancy's Hawaiian tough, man. He's durable, and he does take the shots. Now in the third round, he's down 0-2, but then you actually see Yancy Madeiros start using his weapons. He starts using the jab more. He starts staying on the outside, and you have both guys tired, but it seemed like Yancy wanted a little bit more. So I thought actually that round, I think Hadzevik landed more strikes, but Yancy was getting to him. Yancy was breaking him down. If this is a 5-round fight, which this fight would never be a 5-round fight, maybe that resilience from Yancy plays through, but after a 2.5-year-long layoff, coming back, this wasn't an easy fight to come back to. He didn't exactly give a good account of himself. I'm not disappointed in him. I'm glad the fight went the distance, but all the same, I wasn't on the Hadzevik side. The Hadzevik backers were correct here. Moving on, we got Charles Rosa, Justin James. Almost universally, everybody except for Justin James is on Charles Rosa. I don't personally know anybody that bet James on the basis of James was betting James, but when I was on Twitter, there was a narrative of people who were just he's got that much confidence in himself. Why not tag along? For me personally, with Justin James, if you see Charles Rosa fight, takedown defense is an issue for him. We know he struggled in the Bryce Mitchell fight. We know he struggled his last time out. If you take him down, you'll be able to hold him down. That's kind of his kryptonite. So for Justin James being that confident in himself, I got thinking, you know what? Rosa's got a cast iron chin. You're betting on yourself. I don't think you're betting on, I'm going to knock this guy out. You're betting on, I'm going to defeat this guy. And what's the easiest way to defeat this guy is to wrestle. So I honestly thought James might come out here and just try to, if you got 25,000 on yourself, you stand to make another 25,000. You're self-admittedly online broke. You'd need this money. 3-fight losing streak. You're about to get released from the UFC. UFC is the only company in town that pays decent money for a guy of Justin James's caliber. You think you go back to the Michigan regional scene or fight on the local, there's not even a local Las Vegas regional scene. I mean, it's UFC or bust. But where do you go if you're Justin James? So there's a ton of pressure on him. I didn't think he'd want an entertaining fight. He would want the smart fight to secure that victory, and that would imply wrestling. First round, he does neither of those things. So if James is not going to use the wrestling, that's fine. Then revert to what he does best, and that's just bum rush you with punches. At the beginning of the first round, he's super hesitant. He lands some good shots, but he's just too hesitant the entire time. And you see Charles Rosa is landing the better strikes. He's starting to add up on him. And to me, anyways, around the 3 or 4 minute mark, you see James just kind of get deflated as if like, oh no, this isn't going my way. And I scored that first round, Charles Rosa. He outstrikes him. He takes him down. A Rosa round. Again, there's this narrative online from people that are like, well, James landed the bigger shots in that first. I disagree. As we come to find out later, one judge did agree. He scored the first round for Justin James. So we've got essentially Charles Rosa going into the second round. Now James realizes like, oh shit. By the way, the first round, the only success he had, he did land a couple nice shots, but it was that bum rush tactic. That's what knocked out Frank Camacho. That's what hurt Gavin Tucker. That's what has yielded him any bit of success in the UFC so far. It did kind of work in the first round, but he was way too hesitant behind that, almost like he's trying to conserve himself. The second round, he goes to this wrestling strategy, and he scores a takedown on Rosa almost immediately. The thing is, as soon as he takes down Rosa, he's snared up and Rosa is grappling, and James just never looked really comfortable. Like, he had his arm trapped in that, it was like a weird crucifix position, not quite Gary Goodridge, Paul Herrera, back in the day. Wasn't quite like that, but like he had the arm trapped and he's just landing little pitter-patter punches. Fight Metrics says Charles Rosa lands 3 significant strikes that whole round. In actuality, Charles Rosa lands 60 strikes, just none of them are deemed significant because they're just such small little tapping shots. But again, James has no answer. He's unable to free himself, even though he's the one on top. Nothing happens out of the position, and it's all Charles Rosa. So again, we got this thing 2-0 going into the third. And then it's like, now the realization is I'm about to lose my job, lose my financial future, really. I mean, that's probably his savings. This is going bad. So he reverts to what he's always done and what he does best. And that's just come forward and start brawling. And hey, wouldn't you know it, even though Charles Rosa does have a cast iron chin, that's the strategy that had him the most success. He was going to beat him at a long-range kickboxing match. He was going to beat him grappling him. Realistically, yeah, takedown defense, we know is an issue, but he didn't have the grappling to hold him on his back or to fight off the submission attempts or to get out of these weird positions where he's just taking pitter-patter punches. So he had to do what he does best, and that's just bum rush him. And man, he cracks Charles Rosa. He hurts Charles Rosa. I'm worried because Rosa's recovering, but he just keeps nailing him. And then inexplicably, he ties him up. He like takes him down. There's 2 trains of thought here, okay? On one train of thought, he takes him down and he gets into a nasty arm triangle choke where it's like that probably submits a lot of the guys in this division. A lot of the guys in this division, not Charles Rosa, tap from that position. Justin James wins his money. He probably gets a $50K bonus for this sweet comeback. He's on top of the world. So it wasn't a dumb move pursuing the arm triangle, but in hindsight's always easier. But even in that moment, for a lot of people, they'll agree, and they thought it was a dumb move. Is like Charles Rosa's never been submitted, and he's a really slick guy off his back. We've seen him, Bryce Mitchell fight. He gets put in so many dirty positions. You just can't tap him. He is a BJJ black belt. Is he super offensive? On top, and could he go to the worlds and compete? Maybe not. But as far as like his takedown or his submission defense goes, he's so slippery. He's slick. He's able to get his chin out. He's able to survive. And so James's best path this entire fight was to bum rush him and land punches. It worked a little bit in the first. It's working in the third. And at that moment, you decide, take down, go for the submission. And that probably buys Charles Rosa a minute and a half to recover. He does recover. He regards. Fight ends. This is pretty clearly, as far as I'm concerned, a 29-28. Even though he's hurt, he recovers. He fights back. He gets up. And in the third round, the way the third round ends specifically is Charles Rosa ends up on top. He takes it back. He starts working, doing a little bit of damage. The last 45 seconds is all him. First 4 minutes is all Justin James. Clearly, this is a round for Justin James, but the 10-8's off the table because of the comeback from Charles Rosa. So then they go to the scorecards, and that's the most shocking part. I think we all agree that Charles Rosa won. I think we all agree that Charles Rosa probably won 29-28 here. And then the scorecards got it 30-27 for Charles Rosa. So somehow somebody gave him, as Adelaide Bird, worst judge of all time, so that shouldn't be a shocker, but Adelaide Bird gives him all 3 rounds, and someone actually gives the fight for Justin James, scoring the first and third round for him. Definitely wins the third round. That first round, again, if you say, wow, he landed a couple nice shots, some heavy shots, it's just like, I don't know. The body of work was definitely from Charles Rosa. So if you did feel that Justin James won, you're not alone, because I did see a couple people mention that. I wholeheartedly disagree with it. But a good fight. Now, where do both guys go from here? Justin James is released. I hope he continues fighting his pro career. I hope LFA picks him up. I hope Bellator can get him on a main card, but more than likely he's a prelim guy for Bellator. A guy like that could go to PFL and win a couple fights and make it deeper into the tournament just because the roster's thin. But I don't know what the deal with PFL is. Charles Rosa, meanwhile, he needed this to keep his job. Really, this is a contract on the line fight for both guys. Rosa's always alternated these wins and losses. That was Paul Shaughnessy's spam theory here. He's like, yeah, the guy doesn't lose 2 in a row. He'll win one, he'll lose one. And yeah, fair enough. He keeps the streak alive here. But I mean, Charles Rosa is dangerous against a lot of guys. He's not elite. And if you've got power wrestling and you can just hold him down, it's going to be a problem. But other than that, he's a pretty well-rounded guy. I believe he's now 34 years old. He just opened up his own gym. I can see him transitioning out of the spotlight, but he's still got some good fights ahead of him. Julia Avila versus Julia Stoliorenko. This is another one that Avila had to show up and show something. And, oh man, she did in that first round especially. She just absolutely bum rushes forward on Stoliorenko and just lands combinations at will. Stoliorenko's busted up, shows off a good chin, but Avila's all over her. Very, very solid first round, and it looks like Avila's got the goods. In the second round, she just tapers off completely. The output's not quite there. The aggression's not quite there. It's not a very good round, although I thought she won. She lands the better shots, no doubt about that. I think in a comparison to the first and the second round, first round super aggressive, wants to engage, wants to put her away. Second round maybe realizes how durable Stoliorenko is, and that's why she pulls the foot off the gas. But just not a super impressive second round. And then the third round is going the exact same way. It's not super impressive. Avila eventually gets the fight to the ground. There's about a minute left. I got Avila by decision, right? It's plus 120. I know she's going to win this fight, but I think Stoliorenko is durable enough to survive. First round takes a beating, but survives. Second round, nothing happens. I'm good here. The third round, nothing's really happening. I'm pretty good here. Fight hits the ground. Stoliorenko threatens with some half-hearted arm bars. Avila snuffs them out. And I'm not quite sure in that transition. Looks like Stoliorenko is about to either sweep or at the very least get back up. And the ref pauses them. And he says something. And then he readjusts the position. And then he says go. And then Avila sneaks out of the sweep attempt. Fully takes the back. Sinks in a rear naked choke and subs her with, what was there, 30 seconds left? Yeah, technically there's 41 seconds left. Man, so close. Again, should have gone the distance. Didn't matter that it was going the distance. I had Avila to win by decision. So even though she won at this point, parlays are fine. I would have really liked that prop bet on the plus 120. But Avila, she's got skills, man. Absolute skills. And I think that's why American Top Team, I think that's why James Krause, and I think that's why other gyms have reached out to her and been like, if you need a place to train, come train here. Because when you have that much skill set, I always mention she ran track and field D1 at the University of Notre Dame. She's a great athlete. Her early career, she's fighting solid girls that went on to make a career in the UFC. She has experience. She's got a good ground game, good top pressure, good striking. She's got all those intangibles, but her husband's her head coach. She mostly coaches herself. She runs her own little program now. She got kicked out of her last gym in Oklahoma. There's a lot of question marks around, probably just holding her back from realizing that true potential. But Avila definitely has skills. It's just she needs the best version of herself to show up in order to beat the upper echelon girls. Because if she shows up mediocre, then, Sinjara Eubanks goes and shuts out a 30-27 over her. Not the greatest look going. Flip side to that with Stoliorenko. Could she be fun against a certain level of opposition? For sure. She's willing to bleed all over the place. She'll go out there. She'll throw her hands. She'll throw up that armbar if she can. And against lesser competition, we all know that armbars from guard, still a thing. But she's not upper echelon. And Yancy Kunikea represents a top 5, top 10 girl in the division. And Julia Avila represents a top 10 girl in the division. So we know that Stoliorenko is not at that level. But I wouldn't release her. I would just give her some other fun fights and try to match her up a little softer so that she can kind of give a better account of herself. Prachnio versus Ike Villanueva. I end up on Ike Villanueva. Just the train of thought that, this Prachnio doesn't have a chin. Ike's going to catch him. Ike will put him away. Prachnio looked better against Khalil Roundtree. But Khalil Roundtree just looked awful. Had a bad weight cut. Hurt him a little bit, but let him off the hook. But it's to start your UFC career. Getting knocked out 3 times. All 3 times in the first round. Not exactly against the heaviest hitters going. Like Sam Alvey's a middleweight. Slow Mike Rodriguez is not the most impressive guy. I'll bite a striker. And Alvey does have power. I get it. But it's this guy wasn't supposed to be much. And so this fight with Ike, Ike's plus 170. It's why not take a shot on the underdog? The main thing, though, is this thing is the under 2.5. And that's what everybody's banking on here. Under 2.5 is, either Ike's going to catch him with one of those shots, or Ike himself is going to start getting tired, and Prachnio is going to find a way back into it. And that's exactly what happens. I mean, you could have been on the Ike Villanueva side. We lost here, but I wouldn't have felt totally bad about it. I mean, he did what he had to do. He went out there, he landed a few good uppercuts. He had Prachnio hurt, and he just kind of let him off the hook. The biggest thing that I found in Ike's issue is he would land the combination, especially the uppercut. That was his money punch for the first, say, 3 minutes of the first round. He would land the punch, and then he'd step back out of range. So with Prachnio, he's a two-time Polish karate champion. He's a karate black belt, clearly, and he loves playing that distance from the outside and using the leg kicks. So when you rush forward on this guy, land those punches almost in a dirty boxing situation or a clinch, or at the very least, just no space between you. Well, now Prachnio can't really land that leg kick. Ike's putting pressure on him. Ike's hurting him. When Ike would land the combination and take that step backwards, Prachnio is now at distance, and he would just kick and then move. And at first, it was like, oh, Ike's going to walk him down and land those shots. But after about 3 or 4 kicks, it was like Ike's severely compromised, and he has an inability to switch his stance and fight out of a southpaw stance. So he's stuck here. He's going to have to walk forward on a dead leg, and Prachnio is just going to be too fast for him. So if you could hedge out of that thing after that first round, then that was the best case scenario, because Ike's leg was toast. He did land his best punches in that first round. Prachnio didn't go down. It was not going to get any better. Prachnio wasn't going to suddenly go away in the second. Ike wasn't going to suddenly, find a second wind or recover his leg in a minute between rounds. So that's when you knew writing was on the wall. And sure enough, it happens, fairly quickly in the second. And the leg's just toast. He beats him up, and then that body kick. Prachnio's done a good job of reinventing himself from a guy that was a laughingstock of the UFC. Most people are believing that he shouldn't be in the promotion. He should be cut. He's taking too much damage in there. 3 knockouts, all first round. Like, that is a bad look. He's now since won 2 straight. But beyond that, he's got a tricky skill set. Like, as far as future opponents go, this guy's going to fight you like a poor man's Wonderboy Thompson, I guess. A very poor man's Wonderboy Thompson. But it's a tough strategy to deal with. He's going to kick you, and he's going to move. You're going to spend a lot of the fight chasing him. And as you're chasing him, you put weight on that lead leg, and it's getting toasted up. When you get desperate and you try to unload on him, he's not proven to have that bad of a chin after all. Like, Khalil Roundtree did crack him, and it turns out he took those. And in this case, Ike Villanueva did crack him, and he took those too. So I wouldn't say interesting prospect. I don't know how high his ceiling is from here, but he's definitely proven that he's worthy of a job, and you can definitely see him winning some fights moving forward. So not exactly a guy that will be able to discredit or disregard that easy. Ike Villanueva, meanwhile, it's probably the end for him. He hasn't really had a ton of success. You give him a pass on the Chase Sherman fight because Chase Sherman was on steroids, and Chase Sherman's a heavyweight. You give him a pass on the right fight because it's a cut stoppage. Oh, it was a nasty cut over the eyebrow, but he doesn't have like a refined skill set for. I know that they let pretty much everybody in the division, or everybody in MMA now, or in the UFC, everybody, if you fight whatever, you eventually seemingly get a crack in the UFC. And Ike got his crack, but he's an advanced age. He's a natural middleweight that now campaigns as a 205er. And he's so one-dimensional with his boxing. Like, even this fight was a perfect example. He threw effectively 0 leg kicks, right? He didn't throw any body kicks. He didn't even use his legs at all other than walking around. And the punches, they were 100% exclusively to the head. He didn't throw a single body punch. He's very one-dimensional. And it almost worked here because against Prachnio, if he did have a soft chin, that style would work. But again, moving forward, I just, fun brawls against someone that's just going to throw hands with him. But like, the second someone wants to take him down, the second someone wants to throw kicks, the second someone wants to do any of that, he's proven out of a boxing stance, heavy on the feet, flat-footed, loading up on punches, his leg's going to be a sitting target. And Prachnio's a good kicker, but anybody that fights him is going to be able to take advantage of that moving forward. So that is a tough spot for Ike. Jeremiah Wells versus Worley Alves. So this is the first one that hurts me financially, because the parlays are looking pretty good at this point. The fights that we've lost, it's not like we're perfect so far. I had Yancy Madeiros, so Damir, but that's right at the bottom. So I didn't really care about that. I had Ike Villanueva, but that's right at the bottom. I don't really care about that. Worley Alves is not a top ticket play. He's not a second ticket play, but he's rounding off what's tying this thing together nicely. He's like my 6th most confident guy. And really, I mentioned this all week long. He's a tale of 2 Worleys. Worley shows up. Worley's a world beater. That's striking. He can hurt you. He can put you away. He's hurting good guys. He's coming off the win over Manula Aziz. He's got the submission victory over Colby Covington. We know what he can do at his best. And then when he shows up not at his best, it's almost like laughable how this guy falls apart. The James Krause fight, a natural lightweight, laughable. The Randy Brown fight, how he got so tired and then submitted in the second round, laughable. And then in this fight, that's still in my head, but my bad here. I discredited Jeremiah Wells. Jeremiah Wells also has terrible cardio. And partly, and now we all know, or that now the viewer knows, it's because he just throws everything into every technique. He's so explosive. He throws nothing but his heaviest punches. He explodes into all of his takedowns. He squeezes on every submission attempt. The guy is just a ball of power. But on the regional scene, you see him, either it works, and if it doesn't, he gets tired. Once he gets tired, his game completely falls apart. Warlley Alves is the exact same. Pretty skilled guy. Once he gets tired, his game completely falls apart. So this was the tale of whose game was going to fall apart quicker. In the first round, Wells does good. He's so energetic. He's so aggressive. He just basically storms out of there right off the gate. It's not a takedown. It's not a knockdown. Warlley Alves just like sees the incoming pressure and almost just slips backwards, like falls to his back. Then you got Wells on top. Guy's clearly a decent black belt. Daniel Gracie guy of Philadelphia. Solid ground game. But you can even see as he's pulling Warlley Alves down, as he's working Warlley Alves, as he's trying to get the back, as he's using all this energy, that he is getting tired even in just that first round. So the fight gets back up. Warlley Alves lands a few strikes. It's most definitely a Jeremiah Wells round. But I actually didn't feel bad at that moment. I was just like, this is totally okay. Warlley doesn't look that tired. Wells is definitely getting tired. You could tell that Warlley was starting to come back into that fight the last 2 minutes. And the second and third are going to be a continuation of this. Wells is on short notice. He's clearly blown out his energy reserve, or is well on his way to doing that. And Warlley's just got to survive another couple minutes here. He's going to take over. Only there wasn't a few more minutes for Warlley to survive. Second round starts. Wells does the exact same thing, just pounces on him, uses that little bit of energy that he's got left, and absolutely terrorized. Drops him to the ground, pounds him out. Big shots. Wells looks fun. I don't think he's going to be elite, and I believe he's 34 years old. I just mean fun like a Nate Landwehr. Like the upside's probably not there, but better tune in and watch because he's going to be super exciting. And he's one of those guys that if you can get plus money tags on him, he's going to fight for your dollar. He's going to go out there and he's going to throw to the best of his abilities to finish this fight, to win this fight, go for broke. And as a favorite, it's like, oh man, fight a little bit smarter. And geez, I wish he'd have higher ring IQ. But as an underdog play, if they're going to give you Wells as an underdog moving forward, because that was some impressive stuff, impressive enough. Yeah, he's one of those guys that's going to be considered a live underdog. He had big power in his hands, man. Again, not just in this fight, but on the regional scene, he stiffed up a couple guys pretty good. And then he's got that BJJ black belt. His wrestling looked okay. He was aggressive. If for whatever reason he's able to sustain that pace for 2 full rounds and even just survive a third, he's never been finished as a professional. There's a lot to like about him. But again, he hasn't fought in 2 years. It was Warlley Alves. He's 34 years old. That's probably all hindering the upside things. But let's not even think about where he factors in the division moving forward. Let's just factor in this guy's a fun addition to the division that's going to have some exciting fights moving forward. Again, I'm not on the right side of that. That one hurt me on the I didn't have a prop bet on it, but that one hurt me on the parlay side of things. But we're not out of it. We're all good, so we're moving on. Chabcat Rakhmonov versus Michel Prazeres. Coming out party of sorts for Rakhmonov, I think. So a lot of people are high on him. He's undefeated. He's got a 100% finish rate, but they just haven't seen enough. And that's what happens when you fight on like the local regional scene, whether it be Kazakhstan, whether it be in Russia. You fight some guys that are tough. They're good. No one's really heard of them. You come to North America and they discredit that. So the Cowboy Oliveira fight, he's a slight favorite, but should have been a lot bigger favorite over Cowboy Oliveira. We just haven't seen enough, right? Gets controlled a little bit against the cage, gets a submission, good stuff. Now he's getting a guy, Michel Prazeres, and he should win this fight all day long. He's a 4-1 favorite, clear indication of that. Michel Prazeres hasn't fought in 2.5 years. He's coming off USADA suspension. He's 38 years old. He looked terrible his last fight out against Ismail Nordiev. But all that aside, he's never been finished. He's been fighting professionally for 21 years. He's got lots of experience. He's fought a lot of good guys. He's fought heavy hitters. He's fighting good submission guys. He's a BJJ black belt. He has no neck. So, what are you supposed to attack on him? And Rakhmonov absolutely put it on him. Beat him up pretty good in the first round. Second round, takes the back, submits him with the rear naked choke. This guy's so long for the division that in itself is going to be a problem for people, but he seems to be really well-rounded. I mean, his striking's good. He's able to use that reach. And then the fight hits the ground. He's got excellent grappling. He's also very physically strong, puts that squeeze on you. There just doesn't seem to be getting any out of it. And for Prazeres, I mean, I would say this is probably signals the end of the road. The UFC will probably give him another one, and he deserves one, right? He's been around for a long time. This was the first fight off the shelf for a long time. So yeah, let's see how he looks better his next time out. But all of the writing on the wall was already there. You know, his best days were at 55. Now he's forced up at 170. He's now 38, kind of getting later in his career. He's been fighting for 21 years, not just 38, but he's turned pro in 2000. Like, that mileage is all also on him. The steroid thing, the terrible performance against Ismail Nurmagomedov, who's a 5-1 underdog, taking the fight on short notice. All of that, it gave you the indication that he was done 2 years ago. This to be his comeback, it's just a continuation of that. But they didn't give him an easy out. You know, a lot of people probably look washed up against Rakhmonov. This guy looks scary. This guy is a legitimate threat to this division. And I'm excited to see how he grows for sure. He's give a lot of people a lot of problems. Kanjiku versus Daniel Marquez. The move here is that we got Kandi Njiku. I got the over 1.5. I think that Daniel Marquez is going to use his jiu-jitsu to slow this thing down. Kenny's eventually going to find the mark. And this one couldn't have gone any more perfect in terms of how we thought it was going to play out, but couldn't have gone any more greasy as well, man. Like, it didn't really go smooth. But that first round, I mean, Marquez just spams these takedowns to the clinch. That's what he does. That's what we've seen through 2 fights. He's on record into this fight as Damian Maia is coaching me, and I'm going to show everybody that jiu-jitsu wins fights. I'm just going to win this fight in jiu-jitsu. Now, when he says I'm just going to win this fight with my jiu-jitsu, that's the only way to win a fight. He doesn't actually have any other mixed martial arts skills to fall back on. The cardio's not there. The striking's not there. And I didn't believe the wrestling was there either. But in the first leg, it's an excellent single leg takedown attempt against Njiku, and he's able to take the back immediately and backpack him. Now, this is a really boring round in the sense that nothing happens. I mean, Kennedy's got Daniel Marquez on top of him in a body triangle, and he just holds his weight. He's leaning on the cage. They both get warned multiple times about grabbing the fence. Not really grabbing the fence, but grabbing the top of the cage, which is also a foul. They both get warned a pile of times. Nothing really happens. And this is my concern, is that round a 10-8? Because any judge with a brain would say no damage happened, no near finish happened. But there's this also train of thought where it's like domination, dude. He dominated him. It's just like, well, how do you figure it? So, well, he took him down 15 seconds into the round, which is true. He took his back 20 seconds into the round, which is true. And then you proceeded to have back control on this guy for 4 minutes. So that is actually, in fact, domination. But to me, it's like you need a near finish. You need damage. This happened to me versus Chris Gutierrez versus Cody Durden, right? Where the first round, Durden backpacks him for 5 minutes and does nothing. And then Chris Gutierrez wins 2 and 3, and they give me a draw on it because of that 10-8 first round. So it really depends on who the judges are. So that's what kind of had me a little bit worried. It was like, hey, I'll probably need a Kennedy finish just to be safe now. Now, the second round, it's the same bullshit, man. Daniel Marquez goes in. You can tell that the wrestling really isn't all that good. He got the single leg in the first round, but in the second round, maybe it's fatigue. Maybe it's that is his only move. And he does make it work briefly, gets a clinch, gets a takedown, gets right on that back again. And now at this point, I'm feeling it. This is not good. We're about to go down 2 rounds. He's just getting backpacked. And if anybody followed the Friday night Bellator show with Miles Jury and Sidney Outlaw, my God, it was the same shit. Miles Jury couldn't defend giving up his back. He would just give up his back routinely. He'd get body triangled, and he couldn't go anywhere. Kenny just got body triangled in the first round. Can't get him off. He's now getting his back taken in the second round. He's not going to be able to get him off. This is not a good start. But call it fatigue. Call it Kenny's a slow starter. Call it any number of factors. He gets back up. He steals that round back for sure. He puts it on him. Marquez is tired. Marquez is not a striker. You just know in the third round, Kenny's going to knock him out if he can't get the fight to the ground. And there's a strong indication he ain't getting the fight to the ground. And then sure enough, Kenny goes out there 20 seconds into that third round. Round basically just starts, and Dino is just way too tired. You can make an argument early stoppage because it's like it wasn't. He's hurt, but he's not out, you know. And in a fight that he's theoretically still in, you know, he's not getting completely blown out of the water. He's had some moments, like if he could survive or even land a takedown, like he's not completely out of it. But yeah, I didn't think it was going to get any better for him. He's dead dog tired. His only path to not take any more damage is to get this thing to the ground, which he's not going to be able to do anymore. And Kenny is a big boy. When Kenny puts those hands on you, maybe it's not like one punch KO stuff, but he hits you 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it just wears you down. You saw Ulberg take a lot of Kennedy shots and it completely zap him. This is the same thing. Marquez took a couple of them, did not like them. The ref basically saved him just from any more punishment. So it was a fair stoppage as far as I'm concerned. For anybody that bet Kennedy by knockout, elated very clearly. Having Kennedy on parlays, you're obviously elated. People that went with that under 2.5, elated. That's all good stuff. And then on the propping you up show with Manpreet, I had given the over 1.5 Kennedy versus Daniel Marquez as one of my favorite props of the week. It was minus 170. It wasn't a great price, but at least that hit too. So it actually ended up being like a perfect world situation. Everything hit, everything worked out, but it wasn't pretty. And so for Marquez, the UFC, I feel bad saying this, the UFC is probably going to want to get rid of this guy quick times. And I say that because his skill set is enough that he's going to beat people. And it's not going to be entertaining. It's not going to be pretty. And the fans are not going to enjoy it. And what he's going to do is he's going to ruin the bangers of the world. Guys that come in, they're strikers, like Ike Villanueva, just match him up with another striker and we'll have a fun fight. But Daniel Marquez, they'll grind on these guys. They'll be able to defeat them. And a lot of it's just take a good position, hold that good position. Whereas Kennedy's going to grow in the division, do well, have some entertaining fights. He's clearly improving. I think when you look at him back to the Darko Stosic fight and the Paul Craig fight, it's like there's still a work in progress. But the 2 years that he took off between that, coming back for Carlos Ulberg, and now this fight, whether he is a slow starter, and he does appear to be, the skills are getting there pretty rapidly. I think Fortis MMA is doing a good job with him. I think he's a good, hardworking, humble guy. And his freakish reach advantage and just like that sneaky power and the overall size from him, again, is going to be a real problem for people. So Kennedy, good performance from him moving forward. Don't match him up with the wrestlers next time out. Don't match him up with someone who's going to put him in those bad positions. Slow build him, and eventually he should be able to fight those guys and have success. And with Daniel Marquez, he's 2-1 in the UFC. You're obviously not releasing the guy. And again, he seems like a nice enough guy too. Like, I'm not advocating for him losing his job. I just mean, I don't think if he doesn't get that rear naked choke on you, it's going to be a lot of just holding you, getting tired, not trying to engage, no ground and pound, no striking. The wrestling was mostly just clinch you up against the cage and hold on to you. It wasn't the prettiest work from Daniel Marquez, but again, he's fighting in the UFC at an elite level, so you can't take that away from him. Renato Moicano versus Jay Herbert. All in on Renato Moicano. We got Moicano. He's a pretty key pieces to the parlays. I got him inside the distance. In my mind, and I've simulated the fight 100 times in my mind, he's beating him 95% of the time, 5% of the time. Jay Herbert lands that right hand, baby. Because, again, that's the narrative, is that Renato Moicano maybe is a little bit chinny. Maybe his durability is not quite there. We've seen him get knocked out. But I'm knocking on it all week, being like, well, who's knocking him out? Rafael Fiziev? Pretty good guy. Jose Aldo, pretty good guy. Korean Zombie, pretty good guy. A lesser guy doesn't knock him out. This guy's got an advanced skill set. BJJ black belt, solid wrestling, solid cardio, good striking, American top team. Just, he's working on a day-to-day basis with a lot of good guys. Him at 55, that takes the bad weight cut off the table. That takes him just being completely zapped and drained and exhausted in there. At his best, he's completely doubling up Brian Ortega for 2 rounds prior to getting caught in the third. He's got all the experience in the world. He's got all the skills in the world. And he's taking on a guy that's 0-1 in the UFC that just lost a fight to Francisco Trinaldo, of all people. 41-year-old Trinaldo, by the way. Yeah, this should be a walk in the park. He gets the takedowns easy. Almost too easy. Like, Herbert's takedown defense just wasn't quite there. This is no discredit to Jay Herbert. Again, this all comes down to matchmaking. He's a long, rangy striker. He's got like a 77-inch reach, has a big reach advantage over most of the guys in the division, and he's silky smooth, man. He throws everything linear, nice jab, nice right hand down the pipe. How you're going to defeat him is making it an ugly grind, taking him down and beating him up. And Moicano just took him down like nothing. And then when he would take him down, he'd pass him out like nothing. And again, credit to Herbert. Herbert was able to re-guard. He's able to escape mount. He's able to get back up to his feet. That first round, his get-up game, his overall grappling actually did look good, but Moicano's on him. When he got up the first time, because again, fight starts. This is a sweat for me. I got a lot of investment here, right? The fight starts, and it's like right in my wheelhouse. Perfect. This is going to go smooth. When Herbert got up that first time and cracked him with that 2-piece, especially that right hand right across the lips, it was like, oh my God, what have I done? But credit to Moicano, he takes it. And then he wasn't playing around. And again, prior to this fight, all of his pre-fight stuff, he mentioned the fact that, I'm gonna fight to the best of my abilities and show complete performance. And it was a real good indication of like, he realizes I don't really want to strike with these guys. He realizes I can strike, but maybe I'm getting knocked out a little too much in there. I got to be a little bit smarter. But he realizes how good he is on the ground. And that's what he wanted to show. And he did against Damir Hadzevik, and he fought him. Instant takedown, instant back take, instant rear naked choke, 59 seconds. That's what he wanted to do here. Herbert just proved to be better on the ground. After that first round, now Herbert's getting tired. He's getting demoralized. And then when the takedowns would come from Moicano, he just didn't quite have that explosive energy to keep getting back up and to keep working his way back up. And as his confidence started to go, Moicano's is going up. He's just styling on him out there. He floated so nice. Guy's got excellent BJJ. He's got good hips. He's got good movement. And he put it pretty good on Herbert. Ends up getting the submission. That's the reason I went with the inside the distance, is I could not get an accurate read on whether he'd submit him or get the TKO finish. On one hand, he did submit Damir Hadzevik. He's got the black belt. He was going to try to get the mount and take the back, so that'll scream submission. On the other hand, he's got some decent ground and pound, and we saw Herbert, the way he got finished against Trinaldo, that like punch to the forehead that just kind of like took his legs out right from underneath him and melted him. I could see it going both ways. So I want to ensure myself that I didn't bet the TKO and he got subbed, or I didn't bet the sub and he got the TKO. I just took the inside the distance, plus 120. Moicano straight up. He's a parlay piece. At this point in the night, I'm feeling pretty good. Next up, we got Dalby and Means. And to me, it doesn't really matter because the parlays that I have Dalby on, they're dead at this point. He's at the bottom ticket. But again, I don't think my read was totally bad here. The reason I ended up going with the dog pick and Dalby was good plus money. And the narrative here is Dalby's super durable. He's got a big heart. He's got a big heart, a desire to go out there and win. That's probably his biggest asset. Is he a good striker? He's an okay striker, but he's not that elite level. Wrestling, not at that elite level. Jiu-jitsu, not at that elite level. Cardio is good, and he came into this fight in very, very good shape. But he's got like a undying will to win and snatch defeat from a victory from the jaws of defeat. And that's how his mentality is. And I thought that would be able to break Tim Means the longer the fight would go. Tim Means is a guy that has the skill advantage almost everywhere. He's a better wrestler. He's a better striker. He actually does have the better jiu-jitsu. He's fought and he's got higher level experience. He's currently on a 2-fight winning streak. He's looking good. With Dalby had been knocked down 4 times, but never been knocked out. That was another narrative. He could get knocked down here, but if you don't knock him out, he's going to keep coming at you. And I thought that would yield success in breaking Tim Means down the stretch. And even though the result wasn't what I wanted, it was close enough. Dalby did what I thought he could be able to do. It just didn't yield that final victory. So the first round, Tim Means is all over him. He drops him. Again, probably no surprise there, but credit to Dalby now. That's the 5th time he's been knocked down in the UFC. He's never been knocked out. So the guy's resilient and loses the first round, surely. I mean, Tim Means is absolutely just painting a masterpiece on him. And in the second round, you can see he's working his way back into it. He's having a lot more success. But Tim's just landing the better strikes. Every time Dalby gets a little bit of momentum going, Tim's counters are there all day. And then what really seals it is the last 30 seconds, Tim tosses him to the ground, ends up in side control. This is a Tim Means round as well. This is a 2018. I really needed it to be a 1-1 going into the third in order for Dalby to be at his best. But now he's going to have to pull some Darren Till stuff and get a 10-8. Hopefully Tim Means dislocates his arm or breaks his collarbone. Same thing in the Till fight. But Dalby does exactly what he does. He doesn't go away. You got to give him that. And he does hurt Tim Means. And then that's one thing I got to give Tim Means too. Tim, to me, I'm not the only one. Sometimes when he faced adversity, sometimes when the pressure got returned, he's a great hammer. He's not the best nail. He falls apart. When Dalby put that pressure on him, and it was cool to see Tim acknowledge it after the fight and be like, yeah, my body went on autopilot and went through the motion. And it was nice to see that I could do that, right? He's 37 years old. He's got over 40 pro fights. He's been in there with some of the top guys. And it's even an acknowledgement of him that he's still learning his own body in there. And that was pretty cool that I was hurt. My brain's not quite reacting and my body's just chain wrestling to slow this thing down. It was actually good ring IQ. And I know people don't like it. That, he's hurt me and stayed in trade me and he's tying him up. But it's like that was actually excellent game plan by Tim Means to just neutral. I'm up 2 rounds, right? I'm hurt. I need to neutralize this guy. At the very least, if he doesn't knock me out and he knocks me down again, or he puts some more pressure on me, maybe he gets a 10-8. Maybe this thing's a draw. So the best thing you can do is just kill the round. It's not pretty. And as a guy that had Dalby, would I have liked to see him engage? Sure. But Dirty Bird did exactly what he had to do. that was solid enough. So take away. So now we got Fili Pineda. With Andre Fili, he's coming into his own. His striking's good. He's another one of these guys that seems to, win, loss, win, loss. He's not getting a whole lot of momentum. In his entire UFC tenure, I don't think he's ever won 3 straight. He's able to get to 2 and then picks up that loss. Last time out against Bryce Mitchell, takedown defense obviously cost him, but there's something there with Fili. He is a good striker. He's got excellent cardio, and he's somebody that, even though he doesn't have the knockouts per se on the record, he keeps putting pressure on you. So you look at a number of his losses, but the best round in that loss is the 3rd round. That's when he starts to come on and put it together. With Daniel Pineda, he's a front runner. He's a quick starter. He has 27 wins inside the distance. I didn't think he was going to be able to finish Andre Fili, and therefore he wasn't going to win this fight, because history has a way of repeating itself. And if he doesn't beat you inside the distance, he's not winning a decision. How is he going to win a decision against Fili? Take him down for 3 rounds? Doesn't have the cardio to do that. Plus, Fili's wrestling is good enough. He would have defended. Knock Fili out? Geez, man, that's a lot easier said than done. Submit Fili, probably your best path, but it's going to have to happen early. And Fili he looked awesome in the 1st round. He looked career best. He looked like he made a lot of improvements. Maybe he's got a chip on his shoulder from that last fight with Mitchell, but his hands looked fast. Everything was accurate. And with Pineda tends to fall apart. Again, he's been finished a lot of times himself. He tends to fall apart later, 2nd round, 3rd round. There's not a whole lot of fights where you just go and pounce him right off the. He's the guy that does that to you. He always has the fast start. In PFL, he's knocking guys out like Mavlid Kaspulayev inside of 30 seconds. He puts pressure on you. In the UFC, he puts pressure on you. He knocks out Herbert Burns by putting pressure on him. The Cub Swanson fight, the first 3 minutes, he's putting a ton of pressure. And in this fight, he never going. Fili gets on him right from the get-go, hurts him multiple times in that 1st round. Things are going exceedingly well for Andre Fili. The leg kick hurt him a few times, I suppose, but the excellent thing about Fili, unlike a Ike Villanueva, he's a switch stance fighter. So let's say you take out his lead leg, he can switch to southpaw, and he's fine out of southpaw. He's got a good straight left down the middle. Defensively, he's still got good movement. So if you compromise one of his legs, he can still get away with it and still be defensive. And that's what happened here. Ike not able to do that. Fili's not some top 30 gatekeeper. He's a guy that's mixed up with some of the best. He's a fringe top 15, top 20 guy, solid in the division. He's just able to avoid Pineda's shots. He wins the 1st round, no problem. The 2nd round, we got to be feeling good about it. I think the live betting line gets up to like Fili minus 1,400. The odds makers know this thing's done. The fans know this thing's done. And now this is the great debate on this fight. Did Daniel Pineda quit or not? Because I don't think so. And right away I said, hey, props to this guy. He's a warrior. But I got shit on a little bit online for people that were like, no. Known quitter, totally quit in this spot. So with Andre Fili, he was fighting with his fingers extended for the majority of the fight. He does that in a lot of his fights. So we're not discrediting the eye poke. He knew it happened. He apologized right away. The instant replay shows the eye poke. Nobody's debating the fact that Pineda got poked in the eye. What the debate is, could Pineda have continued? Now, I think a lot of where that stems from is the doctor comes in, looks at him, and, can you see his eyes closed? And he's saying yes. But they're saying, oh, man, how can you tell the guy you can see with your eyes closed? He's lying. He's telling the doctor he can see with his eyes closed. That's dope. He's telling him I can fight, despite the fact that we can all see that his eye is compromised. He got poked. That doctor, by the way, just wanted to stop the fight. He's been in there for 90 seconds. You get 5 minutes. And right away, he's just like, no. We got to stop this fight. And take the 5 minutes and then reassess it. And even Pineda was telling him, like, no, just wipe it out for me. Just wipe it out for me. I just got something in my eye. Just wipe it out for me. Okay. His eye's also got a nasty cut on it. He's bleeding down in that range. He just got poked in the eye 2 minutes ago. Give him a little bit of time. And then when the doctor's like, can you see? He says yes. He wants to continue. Again, that's why I think warrior mentality. He's got 50 pro fights. He's been doing this for a very long time. I would hate to think that, I would hate to call a guy like that a quitter, but he tells the referee, I can see. So then the ref covers the other eye, holds up the fingers, and he's like, how many fingers am I holding? And Pineda just pauses because, as it turns out, he can't see. He doesn't know how many fingers are holding up. He doesn't know the answer. Had he wanted to quit, had he not want to just get the no contest, the second the doctor came in there, it was like, can you see? Oh, no, man. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's how you get out of it. You don't argue with the guy. Yeah. No, I'm good. Well, you don't look good, kid. No, I'm good to go. He wanted to continue. And so without even giving him his 5 minutes, they just called it off. He looked visibly upset enough to me. And then in his post fight, when he admits, I was getting bucked up in there, this guy totally beat the shit out of me, but we can run it back because I owe him that, and he should have the win. That's all. I don't know, man. I disagree with the assessment he quit, but leave me a comment in the comment section or hit me up on Twitter on like what you think about it, because again, there was like a mixed train of emotion. What I think that stems from, and I'm in the same camp, we all had money on Feely, right? Our parlays had Feely. We have straight bets on Feely. And a lot of people took the Feely inside the distance, knowing that Pineda would get tired and fall apart. We didn't think it would happen in the first round. But all of that gets voided now because Pineda chooses not to continue. So the natural reaction is to paint Pineda as the bad guy. You cost me money. You screwed me. You quit in there. Homie's got a mild concussion, right? He's bleeding into his eye, and he just got finger blasted. So, and he quit. Guy that's been doing this for 50 years, or not 50 years, 50 pro fight veteran. Mixed it up with some of the best guys. I would hate to find that assessment. However, yes, it did knock out value off the parlays. It did kill a couple bets here and there. Voided, didn't kill them, voided them. But a lot of the time when you know you're about to win money, and in this case, Feely was on his way to winning. When you know you're about to win, say you bet $10, you're about to win $100, right? That the person loses, you feel like you just lost $90. You lost $100, even though you didn't lose anything. You knew you were going to win. And so then when the winnings got taken away, it felt like they were actually a loss. So I think people were quick to judge Pineda, but I don't know. All the same, people had mentioned that he's got a history of doing this. I don't know when, but if you got an example, hit me up for sure. This is the heartbreaker of the whole night. So at this point, things are going relatively good. I mean, the parlays that we need are intact. The props are not losing any money. They're about relatively 50-50. But Raoni Barcelos never lets me down. He's going to bring this home. I got a plus 130 Barcelos by decision. But beyond that, because of the parlays, I need Raoni to take it home. Did I fuck up putting him on the top ticket? Did I put him too high up? Yes, clearly, obviously. But that's me. Barcelos is my guy. He's been excellent to me. I love his skill set. He's extremely well-rounded. He just fought a bad fight here. In the first round, he's so hesitant. He allows Timur Valiev to just get going way quicker. It's not like Valiev's landing anything significant. He's just landing a lot more of it. He's landing more leg kicks. He's landing the more strikes. He's moving a ton. And so it's frustrating for Raoni that, one, Raoni just follows him around. Two, he never lets his hands go. Three, why not kick the leg? You've got nasty leg kicks. He's moving a whole lot. The lead leg is right there for you. At the very least, slow this guy down. But instead, he just loads up on I don't even land 10 strikes that round. But everything he throws, he's loading up on. Almost like he thinks he's going to knock out Timur Valiev, which is possible, which would have always been possible. But he's not setting it up at all. So the first round, even though I'm a huge Barcelos nut hugger, yeah, it's definitely a Timur Valiev round. Now we get round two. Barcelos' corner gave him excellent advice. His corner's like, stop loading up on the punches. You just got to beat him with the speed. Pop, 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 pop. Just touch him, put the pressure on him, touch him. Second round, Barcelos does exactly that. He comes out off the gate, and it's like he's got a high ring IQ. He's a smart guy. His coach gives him one piece of advice, and right away, it's like he's in there, and he's not loading up on these punches. He's starting to touch him. The jab's starting to work. He starts throwing that leg kick. The hooks are starting to work. He's having a much better round. Valiev is still outworking him in that second round, but the big shots are coming from Barcelos. I'm leaning Barcelos. This is a very close round, but it's a Barcelos round. And then he zaps him. This thing's done. It's over. Valiev hits the ground. Barcelos pounce. Pound, pound, pound. Valiev recovers. Valiev works his way back up. Boom! Oh, Barcelos drops him again. This thing's over. This thing's a wrap. Little Cody's doing the dance. And it's like this tough son of a bitch Russian is just refusing to go away. And Barcelos settles into guard. There's 30 seconds left. He's got his head down and he takes a deep breath. And I got thinking there, shit, he's tired. He just put through a lot of punches in this finishing sequence and dropped him twice. He put a lot of effort into that. And now it's a realization of shit, the guy didn't go away. Now he's trying to get tired. Maybe it's an adrenaline dump. Now you're going into the third round. He lost the first. There's a clear acknowledgement of that. The second round was really close. So the two knockdowns to me would secure a 10-8. However, there is a legitimate argument there that it was a very close round and then his two flash knockdowns. And I don't agree with the flash knockdown assessment, dude. He was hurt. He was flat. Shittier ref would have stopped it, especially on the second one. Glad that they didn't because, Valiev deserved his chance to fight his way back into this fight, and he did. But tough to watch. But I'm also thinking in my head I got a 10-8 round. So Barcelos is not getting finished. In no world does that exist here. And what am I? I'll get a push. I'll get another push, just like the Feely fight. These parlays are going to lose a lot of value, but they're going to still hit. I'm not going to lose money. It's all going to be good. I'm really excited for Barcelos. He's my guy. I've always followed him. Big fan of his. And I don't really cheer for one of these guys anymore. Like, once you cover so many fights, you don't get like, oh, this is my favorite fighter. All my favorite fighters are guys that have 18 losses and don't fight anymore. Like poor Joe Riggs got fucked last night over Hector Lombard. But, those are my kind of guys. But I'm a big Barcelos fan. So I'm excited for him. And we go into the third round and call it fatigue. He fought the third round just like he fought the first round. He just didn't really let his hands go. Now I'm going to give Timur value of this. Let's say you got a job in a factory, or you got a industrial job and you're working there and you got a coworker. Oh, there's Timur, my coworker, regular guy. He goes down there, he's working in the heavy machinery, and something went smack this guy in the head, drops him to the ground, discombobulates him. Dude scatters up, and just as he's finally getting his wits together, taking a fucking massive blow here, just as he's getting wits together, this machine spins back around, smack. Your coworker goes down, another massive head injury. Boss hits the stop button. Oh my God, we got a workplace injury. We got to get the HR department on the phone here. Someone call an ambulance. And 1 minute later, 90 seconds later, this guy's like, oh yeah, let's go. I'm good to go. You'd be like, oh my God. That's what happened to Timur Valiev. He was dead to rights in that second round. He got dropped twice. He was massively hurt. And in that third round, he come out with just like a ball of energy, dude. He recovered unbelievably fast, man. These Russian guys are just built for combat. And it was some pretty crazy, heroic stuff. So even though it ended up killing me, props to like human behavior is just intense. And so, yeah, good on Valiev. He did outwork him. But again, and this is going to be probably a big bias from me, Barcelos landed the better shots in that third round. He didn't land as many. He was getting outworked. In fact, he got outworked the entire fight. The second round, he technically outlanded Valiev, but that's because of the ground and pound off the two knockdowns. He did get outworked in all three rounds. But in that third, man, he lands a couple shots that sting Valiev. They're visibly get some hurt. He's damaged. The lead leg's compromised. Why Raoni didn't keep kicking, I don't know. But the damage was there, whereas Valiev would land a couple chipping shots, well, three of them, 3-1. Chip, get out of the way. Chip, get out of the way. Then his leg would get buckled. Then he'd get rocked in the face. Chip, go away. So I actually thought Barcelos won the third round, and I'm thinking I'm getting a draw at the least. Let's take my bias off the table, Cody. You don't know what you're talking about. It was a Valiev round, and believe me, Valiev did outwork him. I'm not disagreeing with that. I still want my 10-8 round. I still want the draw. I didn't get that. One judge gave me the draw. Two gave it to Valiev. I'm not complaining. I'm not saying robbery. Valiev was the better man. But that hurt. I lost the Barcelos by decision. That was fine. Killing the parlays. That was a bummer. At this point, the night's looking pretty fucked. There's only two things that could possibly save it. And then we're starting off with Tanner Boser, OSP. We need a knockout. We need a knockout from Tanner Boser. He's plus 250 to finish this fight by TKO. He's the natural heavyweight. OSP has been a 205 his entire career. He came up to heavyweight once against Ben Rothwell. He did not look good. He got knocked out his last fight against John Mahal Hill, the first time he had ever missed weight in a fight. So it's like he's 38. His body's clearly not quite there anymore. He's got like this nagging leg injury that's following him for a while. He's super stiff and robotic out there, and he's taking this fight on short notice. He's supposed to fight Max Grishin at 205, a winnable fight. Don't get me wrong, very winnable fight for OSP. But now you're taking Tanner Boser, who's 245 pounds, a big dude, very mobile, hits decently hard. That was just a bad. It was a bad switch of opponents for OSP. He never really looked in it. Although I'll give him, in the first round, Boser's unloading on him the way I thought he'd have a huge striking advantage. He'd be able to put that pressure. But I will give OSP, he took all of Boser's best shots and really didn't seem phased. I need this TKO. A Boser win does me no good. My parlays are dead. I need this 250 prop to hit. He took all of Boser's best shots. He took the overhand right, took it easy. The legs, he's not even checking these kicks. He's eating a lot of these leg kicks. Doesn't have much movement to begin with. So it wasn't like him losing his lead leg was going to immobilize him. He doesn't really move to begin with. Now we got in the second round. Okay, Boser, like you got to keep putting this pressure on. We need this finish. It's an easy Boser 10-9 in the first. We need a continuation of this. And when OSP got that takedown, that could have been some bad news. Because till that point, Boser's hitting him. He's not quite hurting him quite yet. But you can see that OSP is not liking it. And it's accumulation. It's not that one punch is going to knock you out. It's that 10 of them, you're all of a sudden tired. You're all of a sudden breathing heavy. You're all of a sudden not thinking straight. And then this shot's going to put you over. Boser's doing a good job. He's working the body pretty effectively too. But when they get up in that clinch and he gets tossed to his back, I realize I'm in big trouble. Not because he's going to get submitted. I really don't think that he's getting submitted by OSP, even though he's got the Von Prue and all this and that. It's not going to happen. And he's not getting TKO'd from OSP. It's that Boser's got an inability to get up off his back. That's been plaguing him throughout the majority of his career. When he was fighting in Russia, that was the path to beating him, was taking him down and neutralizing him. And the big heavyweights in Russia were able to do that. When you see him in the UFC, the Ilir Latifi fights, like Latifi's also a 205er. They're not the biggest guy going. Turns out he's freakishly strong. He held down Boser and Derek Lewis. Pretty crazy. But he's a natural 205er, and he's not really that big of a guy to begin with. He just held down Boser, pretty easily. So now that OSP's on top, at the very least, I'm going to need a Boser third round finish or this ticket's dead and I'm in trouble. And then again, this is where the great debate happens. He did not grab the cage. He clearly closes his hand and pushes it off. But myself included, and almost everybody that watched it in real time believed it was a cage grab. It looked like he grabbed the cage. The ref said something to him about grabbing the cage. And that position of like being able to touch something and like lean up is what allows him to get off the hip, get to a knee, stand back up, circle out. And then when he circles out, now the shots are landing. The knee up the middle was big, Maybe the overhand right over the top, he takes that. Maybe the leg kick, he takes that. But nobody takes a knee straight up the middle of the face. OSP crumples shortly thereafter. Nice left hook landed as well. Good performance for Boser. And then right away, Daniel Cormier's losing his mind, acting like a baby. You never watched MMA before? All they do is grab the cage, poke each other in the eyes, and kick each other in the nuts. This happens all the time. And yet he's just like screaming robbery, making a big deal about it. I thought overreacting in my opinion. And then they show you the replay and it's closed fist. But here's the thing. This is a trend for a lot of the fights in the night. The refs would tell them, push, don't grab. Push, don't grab. That's what they kept telling them. I don't think you're allowed to touch the fence at all, right? I get pushing with your feet. You're on the back. You want to spin around. Like that to me is cool. You should be able to grab it with your toes as well. Like to me, whatever. You're on your back. You need to make something happen. But the push don't pull doesn't make any sense to me because what they're telling you is that you can in fact lean on the cage with your hand. You're just not allowed to grab the cage, but it's not a flat surface. It's not a wall. A wall you could push on. It's a flat surface. The cage is chain link. So in putting your hand against it, your fingers are going to go through the chain link. And then what's the difference between pushing and grabbing? There is no difference. It happened all night. It happens all the time. These guys are pushing and you see two fingers are through the cage or one finger through the cage. Where did this push don't grab thing come from? I don't know. But Tanner Boser is the only guy I've ever seen that consciously made the decision to close his hand and push with, and to me, that was dope. That should be the rule. You can push off it with the closed fist. You can't push on it with an open hand. That to me makes a lot of sense. And that's what he did. But imagine you do that and then the ref says, whoa, 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 and puts you back in that bad position or takes a point. Or it was really hard to make the reaction in real time. So Herzog lets him go and then he gets knocked down. People are losing their mind, but proved to be the right call. Big performance for Tanner Boser because realistically, I thought he won the Arlovsky fight and it was close, just maybe not quite the sense of urgency. I mean, the Latifi fight was close. He lost a split. I thought he legitimately did lose, but he had him hurt in that second round and stuffed a few more takedowns, kid. And you got Latifi out of there as well. So they weren't bad performances. They were just close decision losses. But he's coming into his own. He's very mobile as a heavyweight. He's got a great arsenal of attack. The leg kicks are really going to add up. And once you're stationary, he's going to unload with those big shots. Is he a top 5 guy? No, but he's undisputably the best guy Canada has ever produced as a heavyweight, bar none, ever. The only real arguments there would be Tim Hag and Gary Goodridge. Shout out to Gary Goodridge and rest in peace to Tim Hag. But Tanner Boser, like, there's a lot to like out of this guy. He's got the look. He's got the personality. He's got a fun style. He puts pressure on guys. He's got good cardio. He's mobile. He's going to have a lot of fun fights with these guys, I believe. And then to see him on the microphone after, this is cool to me. And he says on the microphone after, he's like, I haven't trained in a month. And people were speculating that. I just didn't really believe it. Like, well, why would you take this fight? Or like, he looked good in there for a guy that didn't train a month. His striking was on point. Everything he was landing on was on point. His footwork was good. And beyond all that, prior to him pushing off the cage, all that, his ground game looks solid, man. He reguards. He gets up to where he wants to get. In the Latifi fight, there was just an inability to get up. In those fights back in the day, there's an inability to get up. This guy hasn't trained in a month. He essentially hasn't grappled anybody since the Latifi fight. And yet, improved grappling in there. So, pretty cool out of Tanner Boser. Canada as a whole needed this win. We haven't had a guy win in the UFC in like 10 weeks now, I guess, since John Makdessi. Well, we all know what happened to Rory Mcdonald in PFL, so we're really hoping Obe Mercier wins that $1 million tournament now. But things have been a little bit rocky. So to see him get the win, super cool. And for OSP, again, he's been a fan favorite. He's fought John Jones for the world title. He was a Strikeforce standout. He's done the damn thing, wrestled at the University of Tennessee, been around a long time. But I don't know where you go. He was supposed to fight Christian at 205, and then that implies he could just go back to 205. But I don't think his body's agreeing with him anymore. He did miss weight the last time at 205, first time ever. He's fighting at heavyweight for a reason. He doesn't look out of place as a heavyweight. He clearly is a big guy. He's 38. He's got all these nagging injuries piling up. And now he's in a unique situation where he can't hang with the top heavyweights and he can't hang with the top light heavyweights. You're paying him a sizable amount of money because he's been with the promotion a long time. He's a former title challenger, and he's not bringing a ton there. Yeah, he won the Alonzo Menafield fight, but Menafield looked terrible there. What real value is he bringing? The highlight reel finishes from him are not quite coming as frequent, and the highlight reel finishes against him are starting to pile up. If you were to release a guy like this tomorrow, he'd be signed to Bellator because he's got a good relationship with Scott Coker from the Strikeforce days, and also he's got a big name, fought John Jones for a title, he's got all that reputation, and Bellator would bring him in, give him a couple fights that could be winnable for him, but they're probably going to try to elevate some of their other talent. UFC's already elevated the guys they wanted to elevate off him, and I don't think they're particularly interested in bringing him back and getting him hurt. He did not, outside of the one takedown, he showed nothing in this fight. The last fight with Hill, he showed nothing in that fight. The last time he fought at heavyweight against Ben Rothwell, he showed nothing in that fight. It's starting to become a trend, and it's a little bit concerning. But again, he's a guy that is owed respect. He's a guy that's owed another fight. If he chooses to want another fight in the promotion, they're going to offer to him. Who's going to complain about that? But I don't think you would ever bet this guy almost against anybody. I'd have to see the opponent in front of me, but if it was a bad opponent and they gave you plus money, I would take the plus money shot. And if it was a good opponent and he was the underdog, then I would take the good opponent. So it's going to be a tough situation. Anyways, that hits the Boser TKO plus 250. It's like a salvage night, but I want to win some money. I've committed my time to watching this card. The bad bounce on the parlays, it happens. I'm a second round knockout away from clearing out those parlays and having a great night. The props are doing okay, but I really need Gane here. I need a Gane decision. I need a Gane over 3.5. People might say this was a boring fight. People might say Gane just doesn't quite have it, but this is what you would consider a masterclass performance. He went in, he 50-45 Alexander Volkov, according to some people, but was it a walk in the park? No. It's never going to be a walk in the park when you're taking on elite opposition. And Alexander Volkov is elite opposition, and he completely neutralized all of his weapons. I think a big narrative was, well, Gane has never faced adversity. He's never been in deep water. And I know 100 Man was mentioning he's never fought off his back foot. Volkov should be able to present all those things. And yet he was not able to back Gane at any point. None of the strikes he threw seemed to really hurt Gane or disrupt his rhythm. And he was just like a sitting duck. The first round, Volkov lands more shots. He had the volume there. The better shots came from Gane. As a pessimist and as someone who's got some investment in Gane, I gave the first round Alexander Volkov, just trying to play it safe. What's my best case scenario, or what's my worst case scenario? My worst case scenario is that this is a 1-0 Volkov. So the second round, it's all Gane. He didn't really use his jab and his low kick all that much in the first round. And I'll admit, I was on record in the preview shows prior to this one saying, leg kick, it'll be there all day. And it was. He landed something like 54 leg kicks. They weren't nearly as effective as I thought they would be, and he didn't really commit to a whole lot of them. He's mostly just rangefinder. But his two range-finding weapons was just the jab and those little leg kicks, especially that inside leg kick. And they were there for him. He outstrikes him in round 2. He wins 2. He outstrikes him in round 3. He rounds 3. In the fourth round, it's Volkov's best round. So again, now Volkov's actually starting to land some decent shots. Not a ton of them, but he does rock on his head back with a nasty uppercut. He hurts his legs a few times. He's starting to get to him. It's Volkov's best round, in my opinion. And so now here's the dilemma. It seems like Gane is in cruise control and he's easily winning this fight. But even I thought myself, first round could have gone to Volkov. He did have the more shots. He did land a little bit more. Just depends who's looking at it. I disagree. I gave it to Gane, but they could give it to Volkov. And this fourth round was his best round. So if they give that to Volkov, then this is actually a 2-2 fight going into the fifth. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like this is Gane all day. But as a worst case scenario, worst case it's 2-2. So fifth round, I mean, Gane comes out. Maybe he realizes it. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just wants to put a cherry on top. But he's easily winning that fifth round. He's landing the shots now. The combination work's starting to work. He's a lot more aggressive. He's taking a little bit more chances. Volkov seems to be tired. Volkov's getting backed up. He is hitting him. And then that eye poke. And then when the eye poke happens, this is now the second eye poke of the fight for Gane, poking Volkov. He fought the majority of the fight with his hand like all the way extended. So you know that there was probably warnings in there like, hey, man, watch out. He was pushing off the face a lot with the hand. He got a warning after the first eye poke. If he loses a point here, this thing probably is a draw. If he loses a point here, I don't know how they're going to score this, but don't want that. And even though he wouldn't be able to pull a Daniel Pineda, if he pulled a Pineda, it's too late in the fight. They're just going to go to the scorecards. And if they do that, the scorecards are going to read Gane because he was winning the fifth round up to that point, and he clearly won rounds 2 and 3. There's no debate here. Gane wins the fight. But Volkov's a warrior. He doesn't want the easy way out. He comes back, and then, there's 59 seconds left. There's a minute left. Gane wins the fight. They read the scorecards. 2 judges, I believe, had it 50-45, so this thing was never in doubt at all. And again, I call it a masterclass performance because even though it wasn't easy work, at no point was he threatened by a dangerous guy like Volkov. At no point was he really in trouble. At no point was he getting backed up. He was taking his time. He was fighting his game. Wasn't overexerting himself. Wasn't taking any risks. And even though it's not the most exciting thing going, it is extremely effective, and it worked tremendously for him. He totally bails out my night here. The over 3.5, the Gane by decision plus 190 ends up being a good night. Is an entertaining night. They were good fights. I'm all for it. And now you wonder, Volkov was working his way back up. He's still a top 5 heavyweight. He could be a good fight for anybody in the division. Run back him versus Derek Lewis after Lewis fights for the belt. Like, there's just a lot of good options for him. He's going to be fine. For Gane, he's the exciting prospect. He's undefeated. He's just headlined his second straight card. He's beaten Rosenstruck. He's beaten Volkov. A shell of a ghost of JDS, but he's building a resume for himself. He's getting more experience. They're going to try to push this guy into a title situation sooner rather than later. It'd be nice to see him fight Curtis Blades first, just to see, can he wrestle? Not that Ngannou's going to wrestle him, but I would like to see his full, well-rounded game. The UFC's not going to do that because if Blades wins, you just ruined your top challenger and you're undefeated. What they want is they want a Gane versus Ngannou. It sells. They're former training partners, even though they haven't really spent all that much time together, but the narrative, they're former training partners. They're both French heavyweights. They're both, just the new generation. You know what I mean? Gane is very fast. He's got the jab. He's very mobile. Francis Ngannou is the hardest hitter you've ever seen. Their styles are completely contrasts of each other. Whereas Ngannou is going to try to hit him and knock him out and get the job done with that big power. And Gane's going to try to use the jab and the leg kicks and stay to the outside. Like, what do you favor? It sells itself. It should be a good fight. I think with the demographic, if you're trying to break into the French demographic like France, I don't know. I don't think they are. I think MMA is super popular out there. It just got legalized. But again, this does big business probably in a lot of places in Europe, and it'd be a fun heavyweight fight all over. And so leave me a comment in the comment section. Who do you got? Does JDS knock this guy's head out? Or does Gane just play that game plan, stay to the outside and use the jab? Like, I get the narrative of like, well, JDS is not going to just let him stay to the outside and throw them hands, but Gane doesn't give you an option, dude. JDS is super wild. The way he throws his shots are like wild and loopy from the hip, from crazy angles, and puts that pressure on you. But Gane's straight and linear, touches the chin. And neither guy trains in France anymore. You got Francis is at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas, or I think he's at Syndicate in Las Vegas. And you got Gane's at American Top Team in Florida, right? So it's like 2 mega gyms, 2 mega heavyweights, contrasting styles, really good story. But I almost feel like Gane can use the jab, use the kicks, extend this into like rounds 3, 4, and 5. And then if Ngannou does have cardio issues, which he might look good against Stipe, but you could tell he was huffing and puffing pretty hard there by the end. That was only a round and a half. Maybe Gon takes over. They'll give you plus money on Gon. So again, it's going to come down to a dog or pass for myself personally. If they gave me plus money on Francis, I would also spam that because he literally embodies puncher's chance. But no, he's the champ. They won't give you plus money on Ngannou. So you would have to take a surreal Gon. So anyways, overall, just a quick little recap. The card it's 7-5 total. Like the overall picks doesn't sound sexy. Obviously, should have been an 8-5, but we got a no contest out of Feely. The losses, I'm not outside of Raoni Barcelos and then maybe Warley Alves. Yancy losing, it was really low for me, right? The Ike Villanueva losing, it was really low for me. I had a bad read on Warley Alves in that I thought he would be able to show a little bit more, and I just knew he wasn't trustworthy. I think I was trying to fade Wells more than I was trying to believe in Warley Alves, and that was just a bonehead decision, not a good move. Take full responsibility on that one. And I'll take full response. Again, the Dalby fight, I don't think the read was off there. He was lower on the trust factor list. And then the Raoni Barcelos, I just had him too high. In a different world, you put together your 7-5, but you put together your 7 wins better and keep your 5 losses away, then you're good. A Barcelos second round finish, if the judges gave him a draw and we got a push, if they were not huggers like myself and they did score that third round for Barcelos just on damage, definitely not volume. He definitely got outworked. He let the moment pass away from him. That's the most frustrating part, but he did land some shots. If any of those factors happen, it's a huge payday. We're happy. But again, you need those bounces. So full responsibility on me on that one. But the rest of the card, man, the reads weren't there. The props were there. Or sorry, the reads were there. The props hit for the most part, was solid. The parlays could have been a little bit better, but it's c'est la vie. So there's no card next week. We're going to move to McGregor versus Poirier 3 the following week after that. And yeah, what can we do? Lick our wounds, come back, big pay-per-view. This card ended like at 8, and then I watched a whole lot of bare knuckle boxing, but I'm sure nobody cares about the recap on that. This is a fun card. I think top to bottom, a lot of good spots, a lot of good fight of the night contenders, a lot of good finishes. But yeah, just like it's the small bounces ultimately in life. So I hope you guys cashed whatever you guys bet. If you tagged, you tailed, you came up. I know a lot of people did actually hit their parlays, put the right pieces together. So congratulations to everybody. And yeah, that was the recap for UFC Vegas 30. We'll not catch you next week, but we'll catch you after that.